Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Real Talk Podcast. Thank you for joining the conversation. My name is Adrian. Today, as always, Monday morning in the studio here in Brisbane, the Sunshine State, we have Kaz.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you doing today, Brother Adrian?
Alhamdulillah. How are you today, Kaz?
Alhamdulillah. I think we are very fortunate today. Alhamdulillah, we got Nadia Saeed with us in the studio. So I'm very, very happy about that.
Yes.
As well as Haji Hassan Goss, mashallah. How are you doing today, Haji?
How about a hard weekend?
MashaAllah.
SubhanAllah. Tell us about it.
From Saturday night
a few words.
to Sunday, and now here in the studios here, Underwood, Academy Alive.
Alhamdulillah.
But alhamdulillah, I went to we had a program on Saturday night at the Islamic school, and the brothers were there from Palmerston, which is up in Darwin.
Yeah.
Mashallah.
They had a fundraiser there, mashallah. So alhamdulillah, we did what we could.
Alhamdulillah.
Sister Nadia was there, mashallah. She was helping. And then I went down to Ballina to...
I saw that on Facebook Live.
Yeah, our brother bought 39 acres of land, and
mashallah.
and he wants to put up a small centre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And of course he wants to live there. He's a doctor. He works about 1 hour past Ballina.
Yeah.
So
Mashallah.
inshallah, it's a good future project, inshallah. So
Alhamdulillah. It was an awesome weekend for Academy Alive as well. They had a presentation session
Yes,
on
yep.
the weekend. I don't know, Brother Adrian can bring us in on that. And what was it about?
So Academy Alive, we had our Quran Alive open day at our
Local
Slacks Creek Mosque, at our local mosque, which is Slacks Creek Mosque. So we had a huge turnout. We were
Alhamdulillah.
expecting about 130-ish people, just kind of based on numbers and registrations, all that sort of stuff. But I think we ended up getting about 150, 160 come up.
MashaAllah.
So it was an amazing event. We had brilliant food, which was made by our students.
MashaAllah.
So our students, they took the time out of their schedule to kind of to make that food, and they made, they made hundreds of spring rolls, hundreds of samosas,
MashaAllah.
hundreds of curry puffs, hundreds of sausage rolls, and
stop
also
it!
Exactly
You're making
right.
me hungry.
yeah.
I mean, I was
But
there.
no, that is cakes in the card, like red velvet cakes. No, continue. And then little Oreo, little pavlovas and stuff. It was really, really nice. Alhamdulillah. It was a beautiful event. But everyone's du'as were
Alhamdulillah.
Ameen,
Alhamdulillah. I was there, and
at the end. He came when everyone was eating food. That was
the sad thing was as well for me was I recently I'm on a program, so I couldn't have any of that food. I want to say what kind of program I'm on, but I looked at it and I was like, I'm moving straight on. Yeah.
yeah. Nah.
Alhamdulillah.
So, Nadia, welcome to the Academy Live Studio. This is your first time in the studio, yeah?
Yes, it looks great.
Alhamdulillah. This is
And hey, special day, first female.
yes,
Mashallah.
this
First
is
female.
the very first female of the podcast. But not only that, you've done so much for the local community. Recently, you received a award.
Yes, so the Minister's Multicultural Award for Queensland.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, that was a big achievement.
Yeah.
But like I said on the night and numerous times after that, it's not just mine.
Mm-hmm.
It goes to a community of people that have pretty much been by my side
Yeah.
and that have worked with me, especially to the volunteers who come to every event that I ask them to, and the support that I've received. So alhamdulillah, it's a big achievement, I think, for Muslims across Queensland.
Alhamdulillah. So starting off with, you say this is for the community. Where did you start working for the community? And when?
I guess it kind of started when I was quite young.
Yeah.
So ever since I was in grade one, it started from wanting to become school captain.
Okay.
But I understood that it required hard work
Yeah.
and that you needed to work for positions that you want. And I've always been very passionate, I guess, about leadership. So for me, going throughout high school, year 8, I started doing a lot of volunteering, a lot of community work, charity work, anything that I could pretty much get my hands on.
Yeah.
Took up any leadership activity that I could. I went to Islamic College of Brisbane, so I did a lot of extracurricular out-of-school leadership programs. And for me, that's where I think it started, where I was like, I really enjoy being able to give back to the community because I've always, alhamdulillah, been supported. And I found just starting off with charity work with a lot of homelessness programs around Brisbane, then going and doing things for overseas with Islamic Relief, Human Appeal, MCF. There's so many like amazing charities that we have here in Brisbane. And then from there, I got involved with Queensland Youth Parliament, and it was there where I started to realise a lot of, I guess, the worldly issues, I guess we can say. And it was a lot more than the little bubble that I was in. And for me, it was really important at a young age for people to understand that young Muslim women have a voice and that we are capable of doing anything and everything. And at that point, that's when I started wearing the hijab. And I felt like it was really important that people know that I am a Muslim and I am an advocate for young leadership and for making a change. And I guess that's kind of where it started from.
MashaAllah. Nadia, just quickly.
It's powerful.
Yeah, subhanAllah, man. That was really, really good. Tell us, what were your through this journey, what were the support from your parents? What role did that play in I guess, you molding you into the person that...
Not only the support, the kind of the values that they've passed on to you that have kind of led you down this way.
Yeah.
For a long time, my parents have been very supportive, especially my grandparents. So they're the four people that I really turn to.
Yeah.
My dad is very supportive of pretty much anything that I do, as long as I know my limitations and my boundaries, and that I stay true to who I am. My mum has always told me to do whatever it may be, but be the best at it.
Yeah.
Because, growing up in our community, we're told you do law, medicine, or engineering. And in high school, I was struggling with that because I knew I wasn't that type of person. And my mum's a law graduate from Bond, and I felt like I needed to follow in her footsteps. So it started from a conversation with her where she was like, you can do whatever you want, but just be the best at it and just work hard. And if you want to do social work, you do social work. If you decide you want to go into medicine, you can do medicine. And my grandpa and my grandma have always been big advocates for education and making sure that I don't let that go. So I guess they've always been very, very strong supporters. And they've always told me to never forget your Islam, but get out there, get your name heard, and do things so that we can create change. Yeah. And for me, that's something that's stood by me for a very long time.
So, Nadia, just to go back a bit further again, so what's your background?
So
Where's your grandparents come from? Your mum, they're born here, and so on and so forth. Give us a bit of a trail.
Yes.
Okay. Because people need to know, some background on where you started from.
Okay.
Or where your family started from.
My family, okay. So my mum's parents, they came to Australia when they were quite young, so I think it was about 15, 16.
Yeah.
They got married here.
From where?
From Pakistan, I think. Pakistan and India. Oh, yeah. I can't remember which one's which. But Pakistan and India.
They're probably sitting on the fence, who knows?
So they're from there. Mum's born here. Mum's from Coffs Harbour.
Yeah.
Dad is from a place called Rahim Yard Khan in Pakistan. And my dad's parents are still in Pakistan. So yeah, I've got a Pakistani background.
But you're born where?
I was born in Brisbane.
Oh, in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Which hospital?
Mater Hospital.
Okay, good. My kids were born in Mater Hospital. Yeah.
Fair enough.
My kid would
we
be
hold
born
nothing
in
against you,
Redmond.
Nadia. You're in good steps.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
No, that's nice. So you're an Australian born. Now, coming back to, the trail of life, right? We envision you as a leader of the future. Okay, that's, and how am I going to phrase this question is like, along your short span in life at the moment, what kind of events have kind of changed you and kind of molded you to the way you are today?
That's a really good question, actually.
Yeah, so it's
really good.
It took a while to come out. I was worried about where it was going with it, but
I think it's very important that we, on this podcast, we've got this kind of trend is kind of, motivating people through different situations. And, there could be somebody who's, 15, 16, who wants to be a leader in the future. And again, they go through adversity. Yeah. So we want to see, like, what adversities did you go through and how did you overcome them?
Okay. Well, like you said, I'm only 21, so I
Yeah.
can't go back 30, 40 years, but
Yeah.
I can go over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
No offense, uncle.
I'm
But
still there, mate.
I think we're going to keep a tally with this one as well. Nadia's currently 1-0, just giving you a heads up.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I know. Don't worry, I'll come back very shortly.
Yeah, he'll try. I guess there's a few different things. In terms of leadership, I honestly had a very small-minded approach as to what leadership was. You know, growing up, I kind of thought a leader has to be really outspoken, has to be really out there. But I guess once I stepped out of high school and I started university, I started my first job, I started to realize that leadership doesn't have to just be that really prominent figure, I guess. You can make change quietly.
Yeah.
It can be a mixture of both. So starting off, coming out of high school, I went straight into my business degree. And I tried to focus 1 year, not doing any side projects and just focusing on that. And I realized for me that just wasn't like the way to go.
Yeah.
Then I started my first job with Islamic Relief Australia. So I was the Community Engagement Officer for Queensland. Yeah. And I think that's where I started to learn a lot about who I was and what type of leader I wanted to be, what type of person. And it was really important for me, I guess, to just understand that you have to stay true to who you are, but you will change. Like, I'm not the same person I was back in high school, you know. I guess you learn a lot through the relationships you have with your friends, with your family. There's a lot that I think young people go through these days compared to maybe back in the day. It's not the same, you know, when you face situations, whether it's mental health, you know, you come across, I've had friends who have gone through depression, gone through suicide attempts, self-harm, or substance abuse, whether it's alcohol and drugs. And it's sad that our community just continues to sweep that under the rug, because I have seen the effects where I've nearly lost someone very close to me. And that, I guess, shapes me, because I'm very careful when it comes to those issues. And I think that a lot of those experiences, the harder ones, are what shape us. Yeah. I've had, alhamdulillah, some great experiences in life. I've met the greatest people. But sometimes it's the ones that are a little bit harder, the ones that, I guess, get to you, that shape you to who you truly are, and what you're like concerned about.
Wow. Haji?
With the substance abuse and drugs and all that, do you feel that's really prevalent in the Muslim community?
I think if we keep saying that it's not, it's just going to get worse. And I don't want it to be that when I'm at a certain age and trying to tackle a lot of the issues in our community, that it's been left to such a late stance that it's going to become such a huge issue. I think the idea of, I understand it's haram. We know that. Yeah. But the thing with the youth these days is that if we keep saying haram, 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 don't do it, that's fine. We get it's haram, but we need to understand the educational side around it. So understanding why it has harmful effects.
Yeah.
Well, that was my next question.
Those types of things.
In your avenues of business, that's a good question. Why are they into that? Where maybe go back 15, 20 years, the youth weren't into that. Is this an easy way out?
It's I don't know. There's a lot of different reasons why. Some people just try it because they're curious. Yeah. Some people try it because there's a lot of big issues behind the picture. You know, everyone can put up a frame on social media that got the perfect life. That they've got whatever they want. They've got the cars. They've got everything. But when you look at the mental health side, I know I've spoken to a lot of young people where they're in relationships that are abusive, but because, you know, you can't have a relationship other than marriage type thing. Yeah. If they go to their parents and say that they're being physically abused, or if they're being emotionally abused, or if they're struggling with bullying at school, or if they've got suicidal thoughts, those types of things, I feel like it adds to that. And sometimes substance is the way out. But on the other hand, there's other people that just do it for fun.
Yeah.
So you feel that they, especially the youth, we're talking about youth in this case,
Yeah.
because you are part of the youth. Are you talking about they need a lot more support from all levels, from community to family to friends to government?
I guess where Haji's trying to build further on what Haji's trying to say is, do you think there are potentially other programs that may assist, or is there a gap that needs to be filled that I guess we as leaders, parents, seniors in the community, we're sort of falling down and sort of letting the youth down, where we should be giving them more opportunity or giving them more reins to do more things that may actually, get them to where they want to be or allow them to achieve what they need to achieve?
Yeah. I think it's a combination of a few things.
Yeah.
So I think the community in general is a little bit judgmental, I hate to say.
Yeah.
That's, there's a few reasons why I say that.
Yeah.
But I think if we continue to have this idea that the youth have to be a certain way, there's certain expectations, like, for example, like I said, the law, business, the law, medicine, engineering thing. The world has changed. And like, for example, you don't have to go to university to get a degree to be successful. Nowadays it's networking and experiences. But when it comes to this type of stuff, yes, we do need to implement programs where we're not just educating the youth, but we're educating the parents. Because I know for me, one thing that I really appreciate is that I can talk to my mum about anything. And for me, that's really important, because I know that if I didn't have that, I wouldn't know who to turn to. I know I can go to mum and be like, look, I'm having these issues, or I need to talk to you about something, and she will listen to me. But she won't do it in a sense that's judgmental. She won't just start growling at me and go off at me. She'll actually listen to what I have to say.
That's your parents. Okay, we've got 60, 70, 100 different nationalities around southeast Queensland, and of course all walks of life, and all different scenarios when the doors are closed at home. Like you say, mum and dad could be in a domestic violence situation. It affects the children, and the children don't like to hear this stuff. And of course, they go out and they want to hang out with their buddies, and then of course they want to get into all this this bad stuff. So I can understand where you're coming from on that angle. Do you think? But because in this case, let's just talk about Muslims. You feel the community, and we talk about community in all different areas. Do you think we should be doing more, and I'm not going to use that lightly, more meaning at all levels to support youth, even though some of these youth need a kick in the backside, with all due respect. They want to blame everything else except for themselves, because they don't want to get off their backside and lift their situation up. They want to go the easy way. That's not right. That's not fair either. Do you accept that?
No, definitely.
Some of these fellas want to take the easy road out. I'm not being hard. I'm giving you reality, because I'm speaking from the ground here. Okay? So it's not all one-way traffic here.
That's where I think it's important that when we look at community leaders, or the community that you're talking about, yes, it's important to have imams, for example. Let's start with the imams. Imams that we can go and speak to. I know that there's certain imams that I'm comfortable with and I will speak to them. But then there's that other level of community leaders, like, for example, Uncle Hassan, or...
I'm different. I'm different.
Having the people that you can go and talk to.
I'm not a community leader. I'm part of the team.
Having those people that I guess that they know that they can turn to. But definitely implementing programs or support services is what I guess would need to start. But definitely on what you're saying as well too. Like, there are some group of people where it's just, what are you doing?
In the hard aspect. I feel that responsibility goes to each individual community. Let's talk about Gold Coast, Slacks Creek, Holland Park, because as you know, we've got 40,000 Muslims in southeast Queensland, made up of many different nationalities, and everybody's got their own issues. Africans have got their issues, the Pakis have got their issues, the Lebanese have got their issues, and so on and so forth. You know, you can't put everyone in the one basket. True?
Yeah, 100%.
That's right.
So how do you, like now we're going to put it back to you. What are you doing for us? Well, I'm not a youth, but I'm close to it. But what are you doing? What do you feel that you can do? Now you're going to be so-called a leader now. You've got the award saying that you've done very well. Now you can't rest on that. Am I right or wrong?
No, you're
No,
right.
we expect a lot from you now.
Yeah.
You know, you're all over Facebook, you're all over television, you're all over the papers. Now,
My autograph?
I'll give you
You're on
mine
the
first.
Academy Live podcast.
I'll give you mine first. But seriously,
Yeah.
people are going
Yeah.
to expect a lot to you. You've
Yeah.
got a heavy weight on your shoulders now to produce some of the goods. I'm not saying all of it, but something. And we want to see that. So tell us what you're going to do. Tell us what you feel, what direction we can all move in.
So
Beautiful.
I guess since I got that award, there was a lot of pressure. There
Yeah.
was quite a bit because I felt it straight away. I was like, oh, okay, now I have to work twice as hard. In the past few weeks, what I've been working on, I guess, behind the scenes. So now that I'm on the ICQ board as the youth representative, I've started thinking of a series, I guess, of programs or workshops that I would like to implement, and I feel like that would work. So I wanted to start off with working with Brother Robbie, looking at substance abuse, looking at domestic violence programs in education for young people, and hopefully rolling that out with, I guess, the parents as well too. So there's some programs that I'm looking at the moment. And then also looking at doing mental health workshops. So I know that ICQ is doing a mental health one for, I guess, the parents' side, but I would like to do one for the youth.
I'll come to that one.
For the youth. And then other stuff that I'm working on is networking and I guess how to get our Muslim youth out there in the workforce.
Yes.
So I feel like that's a really important one as well. Coming from a business background and doing human
Resource?
human resources. I forgot the name of it. Yeah, human resources. It's really important. I've seen so many resumes that
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not
Wow.
a resume.
Yeah.
You know, or this isn't this isn't a cover letter. This is not how you do it. So looking at implementing those workshops so that our youth can actually go to these and have an opportunity to work with a professional on how to get into the workforce. And then I know I would like for the girls in particular to do styling workshops on how to be a hijabi, I guess, in the corporate world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how to dress the sense. So it's a different wide range of things. And I have started exploring what I would like to implement, what would be important.
Yeah. Now, just to build on what you said, I've hit this mic twice now, by the way. Sorry. Just to build on that, subhanAllah, a brother came to me with a resume. I'm just talking about resumes now, and
Yeah.
we're reviewing it and looking through it to see, if you could potentially get into some sort of work. And subhanAllah, I said to him, listen, I'm not an expert, but I'll give it to someone that may be able to look at it and reflect on your resume, and maybe we can work out something from here. It turns out this guy had 3 pages of resume, right? He had a particular certificate that was needed in Australia. Like, not a lot of people had it because he was in the UK and he did this little course. And this guy was able to pick it up and said to him, take this from your resume and put it in the front.
Yeah.
Because a majority of the times, people that are looking at resumes, they go to the first 2. Lucky
Yeah.
if you get to the 3rd, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And they moved that to there. And subhanAllah, I think within like 1 or 2 weeks, he was in a job. You know, so sometimes you need those, people in the community just to give people a hand to say, listen, yeah, we can get you there. But I'm going to come into a question now quickly before Haji Hassan comes in as well. Take us through a little bit. You do some work with YFS as well. Tell us what that work is about and what you're doing with that program as well.
So YFS is Youth Family Services. We're based in Logan.
Yeah.
And I work for the program called R for Respect. So I'm a youth worker there. I've been working there for about 4 years now.
Wow.
Or 3 or 4 years, yeah.
Yeah.
And we are a program that go out to high schools and universities and do workshops about domestic violence and healthy relationships. So I've gone to St Hilda's on the Gold Coast. I've worked with Mabel Park, St Francis College, Marsden State High, Griffith University, QUT and UQ. So there's a lot of different institutions that we facilitate workshops at. And we've also done a lot of research with Australian national research organisations for women's safety.
Yeah.
So we look at national research in terms of domestic violence rates for youth. I work with them in Sydney and Melbourne. We've released a whole heap of educational videos and resources for the governments. And then I've also worked last year in Darwin with some of the communities up there looking at DV rates. So that's that job for me is, I love my job. I get to meet some really incredible young people.
Tell us a little bit about the program you were saying. That what's it called?
R for Respect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give us a breakdown of the program so the
essentially
listeners can understand.
we go to the high schools
and
we facilitate the workshops.
Wow.
And we talk about what domestic violence is, what a healthy relationship is, because we find that we're always talking about what DV is, but when we ask a young person what is a healthy relationship, it doesn't have to be romantic. What if it's with a friend, looking at trust, being able to speak to that person and looking at all the different types of DV that you can come across.
Kaz, you touched on about the employment, right?
Yeah.
You've got good connections in the government now.
I think she's got Palaszczuk's number on speed dial. Just a heads up. I'm just putting it out there.
Nadia, this is just a suggestion. It's not a demand yet.
Okay.
But in our youth, with unemployment, do you feel that's higher than the normal national level?
Has it been growing as well?
You know what? I'm actually not too sure on this question because I've been asked this before, and I haven't taken too much notice in this sense. But now that I've been asked the question, I actually don't know where I stand on this, because I know a lot of people that have great jobs and are doing really well for themselves. But then I know there's the other smaller group. To me, I feel like it's smaller at the moment because of the people that I know.
What I sense out there, and I mix with a lot of people. There is a high level of unemployment from 15-year-olds down. And very hard to find jobs. I know we can't do everything. But as Kaz says, resume, neatness, look your best, speak your best as you can. Within our own communities, it'd be great to see something set up Saturday morning, one-stop shop. Have all the dedicated people in the right areas to support the youth, get the youth in, and you don't have to. You could have like a 5-hour session on a Saturday morning. You could do it in one mosque, you could do it in another mosque. Everyone's got the facilities to do it. It's something to think about, that you get a small team together, that have the capabilities of helping the youth in that respect.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's a lot that needs to be done in that sense too, because if we're talking about part-time, like high school age student jobs, I know how hard it was for me to get a job, and I never got one in high school.
Wow.
And it was like really hard, and I had a pretty good resume, and it was difficult to get into that sense.
Yeah, you touched on about looking well. And you've been visiting schools. How did your hijab? Was it a barrier, or was it something new, something fresh? Or look at this Muslim girl over there. Who the hell does she think she is? How did you get any feedback like that? Or did they just give you stares like they stare? And
you get the occasional stare or two, but you just kind of smile and go, "Hey, how are you?" You just kind of break it. But I think
I speak English like you.
It's for me in the program with R for Respect, it's never been a problem. Simply because I guess we're focusing on an issue which is everyone kind of faces or knows about. So it kind of just breaks that straight away. And I walk in with a bag of lollies as well.
Oh wow!
So I mean, it kind of.
Did you say?
Like
Kit Kats or Mars?
we've got Snickers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Did you bring it in today? Is the next question? Did you ask it?
I was going to say something, but I won't.
No, but that's really interesting, and I think, like, coming back to it, the root of solving a lot of these issues is actually starting with the youth. Because I feel like most of my issues that I faced were actually personally were throughout my teenage years. And my parents, alhamdulillah, I love them. They've always been there for me, but there are times in certain issues where I felt like that I couldn't open up to them.
Yeah.
So I think it's very, very important that you are, that we do have healthy relationships just also outside of our parents. Like our parents should be always the number one people to go to. And now like in this point and stage in my life, they are.
Yeah.
But during that those teenage years, growing up as a Muslim, I'm not saying my parents are judgmental, but it's something that kind of puts a barrier into kind of communicating with them. But coming back down, it is very important that we do educate our children.
I think it also comes down to kids through those teenage years are not obviously going through their social changes, but there's also their bodies are changing as well. You've got all these other things that are happening, and subhanAllah, sometimes you can see, and it hurts sometimes, when a child shuts down on you. Sorry, I'm talking because I've got 4 kids and I know potentially what it's like. And subhanAllah, you just want to be there for them. And, subhanAllah, with some kids, it's easier not to talk. It's easier to write, So, you might just get a letter under your pillow or something, explaining how they're feeling, because they feel if they're going to articulate it, they're going to get emotional, they're going to break down. I know when I was growing up, I was that person, like I could never articulate, I could never put over how I was feeling through talking, because I knew I was just going to end up crying, and I didn't want to cry,
Yes, I understand.
I think
Nadia, I can't count on my hand on 5 fingers, and I think our other 2 brothers here, where are the other Nadias in Brisbane or in Queensland? Where are they? Because I don't see, and maybe I'm wrong, in the 16s to 22s or something like that year, I don't see those Nadias stepping up to the plate.
But now, and building onto that is like,
please,
where do we build these platforms for these
potential governors, especially in the Muslim community? So to answer that question, if you could, Mike.
Just to take it back a little bit, when we look at the issues of young people, I think it's really important to understand that it's not just a Muslim problem. Being on the Queensland Youth Engagement panel, I've met a lot of young people across Queensland where they have pretty much the similar issues that we do. So it's really important to understand that it's not just a Muslim problem. It's really not. There's a lot of things that overlap. Whoops, I hit that again.
Yes, I've done it twice.
Yeah.
3 times and you're out.
There's a lot of issues that across the board Australian youth are facing a lot of the same things. And I think if we try not to put too much of a divide between us and them and try and work collectively, it makes a difference. And in terms of where we can produce these leaders and have them, I know that there's a lot of young leaders in our community. There really are. And I work with them every single day. And some of them are the quieter ones, but the passion and the drive that they have is incredible. And I know with the high school students that I've been talking to lately, their minds are insane. Like, they have such amazing ideas and they have great passion. I think it's just really encouraging them and showing them that if another young person can do it, so can you. Step up to the plate, take the opportunity. Quite often they're a little bit afraid to get themselves out there, I guess, and get their names heard or speak up, because they're afraid of what someone might say to them, because it is nerve-wracking. I know as a young person, even to this day, you're questioned constantly about what is it that you do? Or, oh, well, you don't do enough. But there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes. Like, I not only have a job, I am also a full-time university student. And then with all the other side projects, and then also trying to juggle out hanging out with your family still, there's a lot more than it seems.
I guess also trying to juggle, world events, things happening around you, and things just come up all of a sudden. And, all of a sudden is, guess what? Here's the mic, say something.
Exactly. Like for example, you finish schools. Okay, what are you doing at university? You finish uni. Okay, when are you getting married? It's just a constant. What are you doing next? What are you doing next? And sometimes you don't know. But I think it comes down to empowering the youth and saying that, like, step up, Come with us. We can mentor you. I know for me, it was really important to have good mentors in my leadership journey that weren't my parents. So I spoke a lot to Auntie Suzanne Almani and to Nora Amath, who really helped shape me as a person in my leadership journey.
They were on the stage, or they were there present.
Yep.
For the award. Tell us a little bit about that.
that was very emotional. I mentioned them in my speech when I got the award because for me, the both of them have been my absolute rocks. I've gone through a little bit of the crap, I guess, in my own personal life, and they were always there to help pick me up, and they were always there to tell me that it was going to be okay and that you just need time and sometimes you need to step away from the spotlight and you need to focus on yourself. And they truly, I love them so much, especially Auntie Galila as well too. So when I got the award, I'm standing on stage doing my speech and I see Auntie Nora just crying, sitting there crying. And then I see Auntie Galila like crying and I'm just like, don't look at them, I'm going to cry too. The makeup's too good. So yeah, they mean a lot to me.
That's good. I feel like crying myself. So, do you think across the state of Queensland, we have about maybe 25, 30, 40 societies, including Islamic Council? Do you feel that we would have a female leader for any of those societies or council in the future? Or do you feel that it's a male-dominated area where you won't get a hand in?
Look,
potential female leaders, and we're talking just Islamic community. I'm talking about being the Prime Minister of Australia or the Premier of Queensland,
which will happen at some stage.
Vote for me, of course. Yes.
When it comes to, I guess, you have to be very persistent. That's what I've noticed from a young age. I started noticing, I was like, there's literally only guys here. There's no other girl. But I have a very strong personality. So I walk in and I'd be like, move, I'm here, sit down. And when they wouldn't let me talk, I'd be like, excuse me, I have something to say. Yeah. So I have that type of personality where I know that I'm not afraid or shy to speak up. Yeah. So for me personally, I try and break that little cycle, and I'm not afraid to step in where I need to. But it is very male dominated, which is quite frustrating sometimes, because it's just like there's so many other women that I know that can actually get out there and can actually do the same work, and they do, but they're just not recognised, or they're not invited to the meetings with everyone else, and it's a little bit annoying. But I know that there will be. It's just going to take time.
You feel the wheel is turning slowly?
It is slowly, definitely. I've noticed it in Brisbane myself. Outside of Brisbane, I don't travel up north or anything, so I don't really know. But I know within Brisbane itself, in Gold Coast, I can see the wheel changing, moving. Yeah, I see it. I see it moving.
Okay,
and we'll make it move. Don't worry.
Now speaking on just touching on something real quick. So a lot of these programs that you work with, they are focused in Southeast Queensland, right? So they're focused in Brisbane, Logan, Gold Coast. When it comes to youth engagement or engagement with social issues, is there anything that's happening currently in the regional areas, like Mackay, Cairns?
Are we talking like the Muslim community? Or?
Muslim community. Are we engaging with those issues in those regional areas, or are we just focusing just in Brisbane?
That's something that, since I've come on board with ICQ, that I've noticed we probably need to do more work with them. Because
I feel like there's, if again, it comes, Islamic education in those areas is a little bit behind the capital cities. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And that's where it's toughest, as well as in those regional areas. Bismillah continues.
No, that's fine. I guess one thing that I'm trying to do is, if I can implement them in Brisbane and see what works, what doesn't work, then inshallah, if we look at funding, or if we look at sponsorship, we look at how we can financially maneuver to go out there to the regional places, which I completely agree, they need the same support that we get here,
Yeah.
if not more. So that's why I think it's really important that we have the pilot programs taken over there. If we're able to give them like a manual and say, hey, this is what you can use, find the right person in your community, because they have their own sets of leaders and their own people that they can connect with.
Yeah.
And it's important that we give them the tools to say, this is what you can do as well. But it's definitely, I think there's a bit of a gap there.
Yeah.
But it's going to be that gradual, slow change, because there's so much in Brisbane that we still need to implement as well.
Yeah.
So working across the board is definitely important.
This is a suggestion, not a demand yet. For yourself,
Yep.
Like every city, or every town, I should say, from Cairns all the way to Brisbane, you could connect with somebody in each one of those societies. And then you could, these days with communication, mashallah, those simple programs,
Yep.
those simple meetings can be done fairly quick. And you'll have a connection of building leaders in each of those different towns and societies.
I think it like
I would expect, I like to see blood. I'm not here for talking. I'm not here to listen to people talk, and then what happens when you go outside the door, nothing happens. Of course you need support, and I presume at the end of the day, you need to fly here and go there, and that financial support should come from the governing body, something like the council. So this is only a suggestion that you should put something on the table at your next meeting, and maybe implement something like this.
Yep.
Fast track it. Time is very short.
Yep.
Today you're 21 and tomorrow you're 22. You understand?
Yeah.
So, and you could be a person that we won't be able to talk to, because your head may be so big later, because you're in a high position. You'll be in such a high position that we'll have to make an appointment to see you.
I don't think so, Haji.
Nah.
I think Nadia's always been approachable. I don't think her head is going to get any bigger.
Well, people can make an appointment with me if they want it. But no, seriously, that's a suggestion, Nadia.
No.
I think you've got the potential to bring people together at this stage of your life to progress for the future.
Definitely.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves this when you unite people together for good, for khair.
Definitely.
I think,
Am I right?
you're 100%. I think Haji is coming from it sounds like it's clicked into like full-on fatherly mode. It's like, this is my daughter and I'm going to tell her exactly what she needs to do. So I think it's awesome that, subhanAllah, we've got Haji on.
No,
to
I
give us an
connect
angle
with the youth a lot.
Yeah.
And they want to hang with me all the time. They want to take me clubbing and things like that.
Astaghfirullah.
No, but we go to the right clubs.
The youth club in Gold Coast, which is
Some club. I wouldn't call it youth.
See, I completely agree. There's so many different avenues and so many pathways to take.
yeah.
But then again, it's really hard as an individual to do it all yourself,
Yeah.
because I know for the past 4 years, I've really put my uni to the side and I haven't focused on my own education.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, I want to continue doing what I'm doing, but I also need to get that degree, finish up uni so that I can then just purely focus on what I love.
Tell the listeners what degree are you actually completing
So
at the moment, and just give us some insight
Yeah.
in regards to the actual course and how that's going for you.
So I'm at now QUT at Kelvin Grove, and I'm doing human services and business as well too. So it
double
was
degree, is
a
it?
double degree. So
Yeah.
it was just business, but it kind of got boring. So I like human services because it kind of it complements the work that I do in the
Yeah, it
community.
aligns.
Okay, human services is like human resources as well, or is
No,
it
human
something
services
What
is
is
like
human
your
services?
youth work, your domestic violence
with you.
work,
Sorry,
mental health
with
work.
you. Yeah.
So I felt like that was a really good learning tool for me to go out there and get, I guess, a more professional sense on
Yeah.
the issues.
Human services, are you crazy? I could tell you that. It's looking after humans.
We don't know these days. Actually, the terminology has changed so much. You know?
right.
But just real quickly touching on that. So what you're learning from QT at Kelvin Grove, the theoretical knowledge, is it translating into practical? So what you're learning there,
Yeah.
is it something that you can kind of implement, or is it?
With the human services, this is my first year starting that one
Yeah.
with it. There's a few things where I'm a bit like, okay, that's practically, I like it's the theoretical.
Theoretically possible.
It's a little bit
impossible.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, when I'm in the workforce, when I'm doing my job, it's not as easy as that.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit like, okay, all right. So I guess for me, I've got the experience on both sides. So now that I've got the university side, but I've also got the real life experience.
Yeah.
It makes you think a lot more. It makes you think deeper.
Yeah.
When I wasn't doing the degree, it kind of was just the practical stuff, whatever I do know myself.
Yeah.
But now that I've got a bit more information of where to go or how to refer people or what I need to look out for, that has helped a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. So before we wrap this up, a few things about Nadia. What's next for Sister Nadia?
Oh, okay.
What's your next big achievement or kind of like personal milestone that you want to achieve?
I guess there's a few different things.
Yeah.
But then, if you say them, people expect them. And
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly
Don't mean to put you on the spot.
I guess
but-
personally, I want to finish my degree.
Yeah.
Get that over and done with.
Yeah.
And then,
Sorry, how long do you still have to go with that?
don't ask me. Let's not even worry about that right now.
All right, so that's one go.
So university, definitely have to get that one done.
Yeah.
And I guess with ICQ, I really want to start with the programs. Inshallah, I'm hoping that by next year I'm able to roll them out and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Because I need that bit extra time. I'm very particular and I'm a perfectionist. So I like to have everything perfectly ready to go. Because I don't want to roll something out that is half done.
Yeah.
I'm very much want to get it the right way. So once it's done, it's done. So next year I want to really, inshallah, look at youth programs around those issues that we spoke about earlier, looking at leadership empowerment for Muslim youth here in Brisbane. And then once we've kind of, I guess, worked here in Brisbane, Gold Coast, Southeast Queensland, I can looking at regional and implementing those, because I think it's important that we start small and then perfect it, and then I can take it and we can get other people out there. And I guess I want to go international now. I want to look at traveling. I want to look at connecting with other Muslim youth in other countries and seeing what they're implementing and see if we can roll it out here.
Mashallah. A good goal, mashallah.
One last thing. Sorry, you
No,
just intrigued me just there. So when you say international, are you looking at any countries that are very similar to Australia? So let's say Canada, New Zealand, the US, England, they're very similar to Australia. They've got these kind of similar issues. Which country at the moment do you think is doing the best? If you've done any research into it, or like which country, do you think is doing the best at tackling these issues?
I actually haven't done that much research.
Okay. Yeah. I was just
when
very
I get
curious.
there, I'll let you know. But
Yeah.
I have looked into a lot of programs where there's Muslim leadership programs. So there's a few in New York. There's a few in I know in Canada.
Yeah.
And in Dubai, where they do it internationally, where they have all the different countries represented. So looking at like the UN Youth, which is something that I'm really interested in. So connecting with people from there to look at what we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. So firstly, on behalf of the Academy Alive team, Haji, Kaz and myself, we would like to say huge Jazakallah khair for coming in and honouring us with your presence today. We're a lot better for it. And again, for the work that you're doing for the youth, and for the community as well. Like over time, it's going to have huge impacts and benefits on the on society. So,
Inshallah, Allah bless you for your work.
Ameen.
Inshallah, give you a long and healthy life.
Ameen.
And inshallah that the doors will open wider for services for the Muslim community, inshallah.
100%. And if there's any platforms that are available to the community now, we are more than happy to kind of mention them, post them in the descriptions below, and all that sort of stuff to help you as well. So once again, Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah for having
Thank
me.
you, Nadia.
Thank you.
Barakallah feekum. Yeah, that's it.
Inshallah,
Thank you, team. Shukran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.